Hello everyone, I am Ayushi Agarwal and I'll discuss the TED Talk on the topic Learn a New Culture given by Julian S. Borrell. The speaker, Julian S. Borrell, is a Canadian rocket scientist specialized in astrodynamic engineering. He has studied and lived in a variety of countries where he adapted his lifestyle to the local cultural norms and rituals. He is also a best-selling author and he started a project named Monda, which provides tools to communicate better across cultures. In his TED Talk, he first talks about greeting, which is the biggest challenge between changing cultures and is the outer shelf of culture. Julian compares greeting in a shop in Spain and Norway. In Spain, when you enter a shop and say hola, everyone in the shop replies hola. Whereas in Norway, when you enter a shop and say hi, everyone looks at you and wonders why is he saying hi? Because they are expecting you to start a conversation by asking a question. So when you move into a different culture, you realize greeting means something different and it depends upon how you do it and when you do it. The next thing that Julian explains is how learning to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations helps us learn a new culture. As we feel uncomfortable sitting next to a stranger with whom we have been traveling for years, on the contrary side, Julian shares his experience in China where he has been traveling in a full bus and a lady older than him was standing near him. So when he asked the lady to take his seat, she denied it initially but later she sat on him. Julian felt very uncomfortable but the lady was quite comfortable. So later Julian also tried to make himself comfortable. After this drive, the two families on that bus invited Julian for dinner that night. This happened because he has managed to make himself comfortable in a situation that was uncomfortable for him, and the locals felt very close to him. This is what we are trying to do when we try to learn a new culture. Now Julian explains what culture actually is. Culture is a mental programming. This is the mental programming that tells us what is good behavior or bad behavior, what is wanted or unwanted behavior, what we should do or we shouldn't do, what is welcomed and what is not welcomed. It includes national cultures as well as subcultures, such as organizational cultures. He further explains one more incident which tells us how we can try to bridge the cultures. Julian once attended a wedding in Switzerland where a Swiss German girl was marrying a Lebanese man. And when he entered the church, the two families were sitting there. On one side was the Swiss German family sitting silently, looking straight, waiting for the ceremony to start. On the other side was the Lebanese family, where men were talking loudly, kids were running around even before the ceremony had started. There you could feel the cultural tension. But that evening, when Lebanese people started to play the musical instruments, the Swiss Germans started dancing. And this is how they got connected. This incident tells us how we try to bridge the culture. We try to find these tools such as musical instruments that will make people understand the world and connect despite the cultural differences. Next, it talks about emotions in culture. If you are from a culture where expressing emotions is very obvious and you move into a culture where emotions are much more subtle and there you try to interpret the behavior based on your cultural perspective, you won't be able to identify that. You may end up completely misinterpreting the emotional feedback you get from the other person. The key here is to observe and pick up what are the subtle differences. And it is also to see the world not based on what it means in your culture but based on what it means in cultures of others. Julian uses fruits to express extremes of culture. So the first is the warm culture, which is represented by peach. It is the culture that is very soft from outside and you feel very welcomed. The other is the cold culture, which is represented by coconut. In a coconut culture, the emotions are much more subtle and one may not invite people that easily. People take more time to build trust, but once they do, it is very beautiful from inside. After talking about the outer shelf of culture, Julian talks about the values, that is the inner shelf of culture. He represents this with equality. Most of the world believes that we should have a certain level of equality of opportunities, but this depends upon how culture may see the equality of opportunity. Some culture may see it as providing the same resources to everyone. So whatever your potential, you are going to provide the same resources so that everyone can flourish to their full potential. For other cultures, it may mean that we are going to help those who are struggling so that at some point of time, they all will have the same opportunity to succeed as the strong ones. Another representation of this can be where the strongest people are pushed forward based on some condition. For example, in the education system, if you are in the top 5% of class, you are going to get the scholarship. It's the same opportunity for everyone, but to get this scholarship, you need to get good grades. That is the condition here. Now, when you come from a society where strongest people are being pushed forward into a society where we tend to help weak, you may find it frustrating because you are used to working hard and then getting a reward. But here, even if you work hard, the reward might be given to the people who are struggling because that is their understanding of equality. So from this TED Talk, we conclude that we should challenge ourselves to see the world from the perspective of others. Challenge ourselves to be more aware of our own biases and our expectations. By doing this, we can solve some of the biggest challenges our society and generations are facing today. Thank you.